That's right. They'll be pampered.
Okay, welcome back to the regular council meeting. The date is Tuesday, November the 18th, 2025. With that, I'll call the meeting to order and we'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda?
Yeah, I have one. Can we add on table item verbal report from the CEO, an update on the DFO rock cod glass sponge refuge letter?
What's the number?
Whatever you want. What do we do want to do? Council? Well, it's not a council report. It's a staff.
We can put
report.
that under
Staff.
under reports.
Unfinished business?
Number 10.
Oh.
Unfinished business. Okay.
Welcome. We're not really knocking you
Okay, any other amendments, changes?
Yes.
No? Okay, all in favor of the agenda as amended?
Sorry, Ken, hold the staff request.
No, That's good catch.
Okay, we good?
We're good. Sorry. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, all in favor of the amendment to the agenda?
Yes.
Opposed, motion carried. Okay, with that, we'll move. Mr. Blackwell, there is a statement that council has asked you to read to the community. I think that might be appropriate for that to take place now.
Thank you. Will do. Can I just confirm who seconded?
Mover, sorry if I make through the chair, mover and a seconder for the adoption of the agenda.
Adoption agenda. I moved it.
Okay, moved by Councillor Abbott, second by Councillor McLaughlin. All in favor, motion carried. Okay, over to you, Mr. Blackwell, before we move to public participation.
Thank you. So just to be clear, so everyone understands, I've been asked to read this message on behalf of council. This is not from the CAO, this is from council. I am just the orator. So the title of this is a public statement regarding online conduct and respect in our community. Council would like to address the community in relation to a disturbing trend that has recently escalated. Although it is easy to look in from the outside and imagine the work of council to be straightforward, in reality, it's far more than that. It is only once you are seated at the council table that you truly understand the work and complexities involved and how procedures and legislation play into decisions being made for the village. Each member of council brings their own perspectives and experiences to the table. Respectful discussion and commentary are expected and welcome in a democratic society. We do not always agree, and at times our debates are spirited, but every member of council is here to serve our community. What is not acceptable, however, are the increasing levels of toxicity, hostility, personal attacks, and even defamation that have been directed at members of council through social media over the past few years. Although verbal assaults on individual council members are unacceptable, a line was recently crossed when physical threats were made to 3 members of council and their families. This most recent incident has been reported to authorities. To those who engage in online harassment or personal attacks, stop. The ongoing toxicity has been extremely wearing on us all. This must end. This is not Lions Bay. It is our hope that those fostering inflammatory commentary will take a moment to reflect on the impact it has had on the community. At the end of the day, we are all neighbors. Civil discourse is to be expected, but there is a clear line between challenging ideas and attacking people. We can and must do better. Let us all commit to restoring civility, respect, and unity in our community. That concludes the message.
Thank you very much, Mr. Blackwell. Okay, with that, Crystal will open up to public participation. If there's anyone in the gallery, we'll go to them first and then online next. Thank you.
Ross John, 59 Brunswick Beach Road, regarding item 10.1.4 DVP for 210 Lions Bay Avenue. I'm really here just to answer questions or provide any clarifications. I do have a bit of new information that I could share with you now or at the agenda item, whatever is clearer. I know we have a lot on your agenda, so if there's no preference one way or the other.
Mr. Blackwell, is there any questions or council any questions for Russ?
If I could, I would suggest that if council is so minded to hear from the proponent, that they do so when the item is before them, so it is relevant and not lost.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay,
Perfect.
thank you. Crystal, next speaker.
Just checking for hands. No hands online.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to item number 9, unfinished business, 9.1 zoning bylaw number 520-217, and the recommendation is that zoning and development bylaw 520-2017, amendment bylaw number 650-2025, setbacks be granted for a third reading. Do we have a motion for that? Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Broughton. Discussion? Yeah, Councillor Broughton.
I just would like to acknowledge that there's a trilateral agreement in this recommendation. There's discussion of the Brunswick Beach overlay area, and I don't know if this was during the public hearing. This was raised as well, and I just wanted to note that there is a trilateral agreement that was signed by the province, every resident of Brunswick, and also the village of Lions Bay during the restructure. And so I just want to make sure that we acknowledge that it's kind of unclear. I don't think a lot of people really understand that exists, and it really relates to very few items. But I just want to acknowledge it.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments by the councillors before we call the question? Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item number 9.2, zoning and development bylaw 520-2017, amendment bylaw 641-2025, short-term rentals for third reading. The recommendation is that the zoning and development bylaw 520-2017, amendment bylaw number 641-2025, short-term rentals be granted for a third reading. Do we have a motion for that? Moved by Councillor Cunliffe, seconded by Councillor Broughton. Discussion? Okay, Councillor Abbott and then Councillor Broughton.
Go ahead.
I thought Mike had his hand up first. Okay, I'll go first. So I just on page 16 in the report, there's a statement that says we had a public hearing, received input from the public, and then it goes on to say whether STRs are suitable for Lions Bay rather than the specific proposed bylaw amendments is a matter for another time, is basically what it says. I don't agree with that completely, but I have a question I think I know the answer to for the CAO. Was anything changed out of what we heard from the public hearing? Is there any changes to what was written previously.
Mr. Blackwell?
Thank you. Short answer is no changes. What was before you was specific revisions. The comments were generally, not exclusively, but generally focused on whether or not STRs were appropriate. And that council was aware that whether they're appropriate or not was not the purpose of these bylaw revisions. These bylaw revisions were proposed to ensure that the provisions were legal and current.
Okay,
Continue.
Councillor Abbott, anything further?
I've got two other points I'd like to make.
Okay,
So the one point pertains to what's in the actual bylaw, and I think, I don't know, maybe I think I raised this before, but at the bottom of page 17, so skip the page numbers. At the bottom of page 17, it refers to secondary switch on item H. And I'm not sure why that statement's in there, because if you go further up in the bylaw and you look on page 16, it actually says specifically that the following are excluded from short-term rentals: houseboats, secondary suites, and then our parcel contains a home care and business. And then in that same section, in section A, it says a maximum of one short-term rental is permitted on a parcel. And I raised this before, but the language is still in here, and I still think it's clunky the way I read this. And is everyone understanding this? You can only rent one parcel. You cannot rent a secondary suite. Therefore, you can either only rent out your entire property or not. That's the way this bylaw reads. And I've asked that question before, and I just wanted to get final clarification before we vote on this from the
Mr. Blackwell?
That is how it's meant to read.
Thank you. Through you to Councillor Abbott. Are you catching me flat-footed? I'd have to re-familiarize myself. It's been about 5 months since I really looked at this in detail. But I can say, with regard to specifically what you said, the only iteration I could suggest is if somebody wanted to move into their secondary suite and rent their main house out, that is an option based on your description.
Okay, finished flat-footed. I did bring this up every other time we read it.
Yeah, I've got a chance. I didn't.
And I expected to see it somehow cleaned up.
Okay, any other comments? Councillor Broughton, you had your hand up?
Yes, my understanding is that the goal of this is to clarify, and in fact make the bylaw more enforceable, that there is no change of intent. I certainly heard in the public hearing, concern about short-term rentals, but that was very clearly, as stated just now, that was not the intent of tidying up the bylaw. That is my understanding. So I just want to be clear on that. There's no change of intent. Another one of the issues that came up was regarding the fees, and it seemed like the fees. I'm wondering where that fee structure came from. I'm not looking to oppose the bylaw in any way, but some clarifications in terms of there was concern that the fees seemed inordinately high, and could be perceived as punitive, and if so, were they defensible? So I just want to make sure that we don't get into a liability situation. So I'm asking that of staff, but not looking for an answer at this point in
I'll
time.
give you an answer.
Okay,
Sorry.
Mr. Blackwell?
Okay, you'd like to anyway?
So in answer to the fee question, which is your question number 2, as far as I can recall, there's been no change to the fees. That said, if you ask my personal opinion, based on sort of planning acumen, I would say those are extraordinarily high, and I can only draw conclusions as to why they're that high. They're meant to be punitive, restrictive measure. So rather than charging an inordinate amount, council should turn its mind to whether or not we want them in the first place, rather than try to restrict them by cost. With regard to your first point, all I can add to that is there were a number of provisions that have been removed, which were not legal. They what is the word I'm looking for? They provided actions, set out actions for the municipality to undertake, which are ultra vires beyond legal authority of the municipality to do. So I can understand the intent behind those provisions, but municipalities can't do those things. So those elements have been, without running through the whole list, those elements have been stripped out. That's in part what council heard at the public hearing. Is where is this, where's that, where's the next thing?
Right.
Those things that were not legal.
Are not. Okay, so, so you're supporting, not supporting, but hearing my concern, the fees are very high. I'm just, my concern would be, does that put us in any kind of, a challenge regarding fees that are the fees?
Mr. Blackwell?
Thank you through you to Councillor Bowden. No legal jeopardy with regard to the fees.
Okay.
But what it would suggest is, and what the municipality could be accused of, is bad faith.
Okay.
So maybe issues around fees and even the question of STR, this is a matter that council could consider, this council could consider during the remainder of its term, or punt it down the road for a new council to debate.
Just one
Okay,
further
Councillor
comment.
Broughton, a follow-up question, and then we'll go to Councillor Abbott.
Okay, just very briefly, I don't believe the public hearing process is well understood by our community. And I think that it would maybe helpful to have a little Coles notes, maybe in the village update or something like that. You know, what is a public hearing? I mean, people came with questions when they were asked to come with comments and such. So, you know, I just think it was a bit confusing. We haven't had a lot of public hearings, so people are not familiar with them. And I think the more informed our community is, the smoother things would be. So it's just an impression that I had was that, or more than an impression, I had a number of people feedback that they, you know, they really didn't understand the process.
Okay. Councillor Abbott?
Before I speak, is the other two councillors who haven't spoken want to speak first? I'm speaking for the second time.
I'll follow Councillor Abbott if that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Councillor McLaughlin after Councillor Abbott.
I do have some concerns about the public hearing. I would prefer that we address the issues that the public brought up at the council table. I would like to have seen a list of them and the ultra vires, why. So we took into recognition of what the residents had to say when we did that. And if it means that we have to go back and revisit whether we want secondary suites first, then maybe that's what we should be doing.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin, you had your hand up.
Thank you very much, Mayor Berry. I think on this one, the key points for me, which CEO Blackwell has highlighted in his memo, is that we're here today at third reading because of a need to conform to provincial legislation, structural deficiencies that are problematic and need cleaning up, and ambiguous language, all of which hamper our operations on this matter. I dearly value the discussion that our council has had to get to this point. I listened to the comments from our residents who came forward. As Mr. Blackwell has pointed out, the resident comments were largely about suitability and not about tackling the issues that are presented. I've since come around to thinking that while I listened with interest to the approximately 10 or 12 people who were presenters or wrote letters, we have a population of 1,400. And that about a dozen letters or presentations does not represent the whole village. I found that the presenters in the letters all had very good ideas, and I applaud them for coming forward. Again, to emphasize to me, however, there was not enough representation at the breadth of the population to really stall this legislation. Because as I point out, this is about complying with the province, structural deficiencies, ambiguous languages. So my current thinking is that the legislation before us is fairly cut and dried. It's what it is, what it is. That doesn't necessarily suit the people who presented to us, nor am I sure whether it even hits the spot with our general population. I think this legislation, in my view, is phase one. Phase two, in my mind, is that in the new year, council address this matter again with a view to engaging the broad community in a have your say type format, which historically has had extremely high response, and get enough data to consider making practical changes, amendments, or deletions and to the bylaw that reflect the wide public input and concerns.
Okay, thank you for that. No other comments? Oh, Councillor Cunliffe, you have your hand up.
I would just like to say, I think Councillor McLaughlin has summarized my feelings on this, and I fully support more engagement in the future, but this is a practical matter of housekeeping we need to take care of tonight.
Okay, thank you. I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion carried. Okay, with that, we'll move to item 9.3, building bylaw. And the recommendation is that the building bylaw number 649, 2025 be granted for a second and third reading. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Councillor McLaughlin, seconded.
Second.
Councillor Cunliffe, comments? Mr. Blackwell has his hand up. Go ahead, Mr. Blackwell.
Just for the benefit of council. Excuse me. At the public hearing, council will recall the representation from the Bird Friendly community group with regard to some suggestions outlined for council's consideration for inclusion into the draft bylaw. At council's request, that letter was provided to the building inspector. Excuse me, the building inspector did some research, reached out to a number of communities and provided the recommendations in the letter, which was circulated to you today. The report was finished by the building inspector this afternoon and was emailed as soon as we could get it emailed to you. And so that information is pretty quickly summarized. If council wishes to do a deeper dive into the bird friendly inputs, I have some recommendations, should council be so minded to hear those.
Mr. Blackwell, would you be able to just highlight that email? Just I don't have it in front of me, so if you don't mind highlighting it.
Sure. Mr. Butler reached out to a number of communities, North Shore communities, City of Vancouver. I can't remember the list. And it would seem, according to his research, none of them require it in their building bylaws. Some of the feedback has received from his technical committee is that the provision of bird-friendly glass can be cost prohibitive. And so I think what his research has revealed is that if there's an appetite to introduce bird-friendly considerations, that they're included as optional items, so that rather than requiring these expensive add-ons or requirements, say, that people are made aware of the provisions, that if they are so minded, and they can be even encouraged, and if they're so minded, they have the information available to them should they wish to take advantage of it.
Okay,
That's
thank you for
in
that.
essence.
Okay, I've got Councillor Abbott has his hand up, then we'll go to Councillor Broughton. Councillor Abbott.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, there was no presentation from Bird Friendly at the public hearing because we have not had a public hearing. There was no public hearing on this. What there was something sent to correspondence about 3 weeks ago now in advance of the previous meeting.
That's correct.
And there has been one email today sent by Charlie Radbury, one of the bird-friendly people that sent one of the original emails, asking that we take some time to reconsider this, give them a chance to come, or give Charlie a chance to come, maybe others members of bird-friendly, I don't know, to come talk to some of the things she believes or they believe have misunderstood. And then I will remind council, there are, and I don't know the numbers, there are, because it's growing regularly, it's growing every year, but let's say there's 16, because I now have 20 bird-friendly cities in Vancouver. There was only 5 or 6 when we became the first small town. Vancouver is the only metro municipality that has managed to gain the status other than us. There's only 2 in metro. So comparing it to the other municipalities that haven't managed to gain the status yet is a somewhat misaligned comparison. For those reasons, I would like to suggest council consider holding off on this tonight, so that they get a chance for Bird Friendly Group to present to council and explain the situation from their point of view.
Okay, Councillor Broughton.
Yes, I have not read this. I received it, I noted it at about 4:45, so I haven't had a chance to review it at all. But basically, what my suggestion was going to be was that we move forward in the spirit of moving things forward, move forward with second reading, and then take this under advisement, and then come back at it. But definitely move. So I would be prepared to support second reading on the motion, but not third at this point.
Okay, Councillor McLaughlin, you had your hand up.
Thank you very much, Mayor Barry. The reality here is that the original legislation is 1994, briefly updated in 2017. Our legal counsel's made a presentation. We've got obsolete and ambiguous bylaws that creates problems for our staff. I was prepared to go with the third reading today. The new amendment, I fully am in support of, and actually Councillor Broughton had the same view as me. I think in the spirit of where I would have gone, subject to the interaction between our volunteers and our staff, is to go second reading, and for that, I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, and back to the original motion to approve the second reading.
Could I ask one? Could I ask one clarification? So the report said there was going to be a public hearing. The report didn't get updated once again, and then previously we were told there would be no public hearing on this. Correct?
Mr. Blackwell, this is in regards to the amended motion.
Yeah, so through you to Councillor Abbott, that was an error. I included in the report, public hearing. The Local Government Act specifies what items are eligible for public hearing. There's somewhere in the order of about 5 or 6 zoning bylaws, OCP, land use contract, and a couple of other more peripheral things. So that was an error in my report. Okay.
Okay, all in favor of the second reading?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. With that, we'll move to the action items log. Any items council would like to pull out? Mr. Blackwell has his hand up.
9.4.
9.4, Mr. Berry.
If I could.
Draft subdivision.
Yeah, sorry, apologies. I'm
So
moving at lightning pace here, so we'll move to 9.4. Recommendation is that the subdivision servicing bylaw number 651, 2025 be adopted. Do we have a motion for that?
If I could,
Sorry, you have
Mr. Blackwell.
question here.
Thank you. So council, I heard council specify that they're interested in second reading only, but you did not follow up with what else you want in order to move this forward. Just as a reminder, this was time sensitive, and this why this bylaw was brought forward is because we have vulnerability, legal vulnerability with regard to shielding ourselves against natural disasters with regard to our building permit process. So this new bylaw is to deal with that vulnerability. So time is of the essence. So rather than grant second reading and have this hanging out there without any direction, I would ask council to be specific and unified in its voice as to what step you want next before it reaches third. Given that this is a very technical document and it should not be discussed at a political level, it's a technical thing. So how do you want to weigh the technical information in direction on?
Thank you for that, Mr. Blackwell. Councillor McLaughlin, you had your hand up.
Thank you very much, Mayor Barry. I actually thought that Councillor Abbott articulated it quite well. And if you wanted to put forward an amendment to the recommendation, it'd be fine.
Good, okay. Well, I think we have a report in front of us from a building officer, David Butler, a building official, David Butler. I think affording the opportunity for Charlie Brady to speak to him about these matters would be a good idea, and potentially have a delegation if needed to council before the next meeting on, now that I'm not sure if they or she understands that there will be no public hearing. So that's kind of what I think would be maybe the next step. How do I want to
Mr. Blackwell, any comments on that? How we can facilitate that?
Just need a resolution as to what council's preferences.
I think it is just to summarize that, Councillor Abbott, is that referring it back to council to communicate with the community to gain some clarity on this?
Back to the building inspector who wrote the report, yes, to have a discussion with the residents that have raised the concern, and if required, we give them an opportunity to present a delegation at the next meeting.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, is that clear enough?
Nope, that's not even a motion. With due respect, I need clear direction as a motion. That council directs staff to.
That council directs staff to facilitate a meeting between the building inspector, David Butler, and the representative of the bird-friendly designation, the village's bird-friendly designation group.
For the purpose of
clarifying the bird-friendly commitments that the village has, and that out of that meeting, they'd be given the opportunity for a delegation at the next meeting if required.
Yeah, may I?
Could we do a friendly amendment to that, just and replace Mr. Butler's name with staff so that perhaps our CAO could be in on that meeting?
Sure. So just to put a finer point on the second part, that a member of the bird-friendly group be invited to appear before council as a delegation.
If required.
How will we know if it's required?
Out of the meeting. You might come out of the meeting with you guys all understand.
They can be invited.
Okay, well, we'll invite them. All right, let's take the if required with ACE, and we invite them to present delegation at the next meeting. Fine, got it. All right. That's my motion.
Okay, Crystal, do you have that? Do you want to read that back to us?
Actually, yeah, Deputy Corporate Officer, could you read that back?
No.
As best you can.
Oh, boy.
Mr. Blackwell, would you like to help?
Sure.
Let's see what you got.
Sure, that council directs staff to meet with a representative or representatives of the bird-friendly community. That's not what they're called, the bird-friendly group. And that council
to review our commitments, our bird-friendly commitments with the bylaw.
If I may, for the purpose of clarifying the bird-friendly commitments.
Yeah.
Bird-friendly municipality. And then
report back to council.
then
And invite-
be invited as a delegation to the next meeting should if required.
The staff invite a member of the bird friendly
To,
group to the next meeting of council.
yes.
Okay, Councillor Broughton, you had your hand up?
I'm just a bit confused as to, what constitute the bird-friendly group? Is it a committee? Is it it's not a standing committee, it's not a village committee? So it's sort of seeking more information from interested parties, per se, is that?
I think it's a
You-
municipal
Do
designation.
you want to try to do this or should I?
I think there's two, if I could, there's two answers
Mr.
here.
Blackwell.
One is political, one is technical. The challenge, the tightrope the council will have to walk is that sort of managing sort of the bird-friendly obligations, which are pretty clear, with sort of the technical requirements and how you weigh one against the other. I cannot give you advice on that. That is solely up to you to figure out how you can reconcile one against the other.
So
Yeah, Councillor Abbott and then Councillor Broughton.
I was purposely trying not to call them a committee because it just, everyone rolls off everyone's tongues because they're not a committee of council.
Right.
But council approved the designation, which comes with some commitments to accept bird-friendly status, and we are a federally regulated bird-friendly status, not that the regulations have any teeth on.
Right.
Involved here, right? So
Okay.
that's why I'm.
It's the spirit of it, yeah,
Councillor
We have
Broughton,
acknowledged that.
okay.
Councillor Broughton, you had your hand up. Any further comments?
No, I think that's.
Okay,
that answers
I'll call a
the
question. All in favor of the motion?
I'm sorry, what's the motion?
Don't.
Don't do that, Michael.
Okay,
As Crystal has got.
Corporate Officer, if you could read out the motion, and Mr. Blackwell, if you can give a hand.
Right.
If I may, I also need a seconder.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, can you please read the motion?
I think I have it.
All right.
That council directs staff to facilitate a meeting between the bird-friendly group for the purpose of clarifying the bird-friendly commitments, bird-friendly status, and that staff invite the bird-friendly group to appear as a delegation at the next regular meeting if required.
No, take me for quite off.
And just add in relation to the first part, in relation to the draft building bylaw.
Thank
So
you.
it provides focus as to what the topic is.
Okay, all in favor?
We're seeking input. Yes, sir.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, you got
Okay.
thank you.
What was the motion again?
Okay, we'll move to the action items log. Any items in
One
the
more,
action log?
5.5.
9.5, Ken?
9.5 action
Was that
item
a
log.
DFO?
You also got 9.4.
Sorry, 9.4.
Oh, sorry.
The subdivision. Okay, 9.4 draft subdivision. Recommendation that the subdivision service bylaw 659 2025 be adopted. Do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay, second. Seconded by Councillor Cunliffe. Discussion.
I might just go really quickly. On page 85, it still refers to a public hearing. Maybe clean that up. There's another one that does not get a public hearing. On page 106, it refers to the standards policy and the public works manager. We changed that to director of operations. We don't have one of those anymore. And then on page 133, and this is where this document's a little problematic for me. I get this document as a technical document and has been taken from a very different municipality. Almost municipalities are very different to us. Let's put it that way. But when you have a table that then calculates how you need to make your connections to the municipality based on having 34 properties per hectare, it becomes somewhat problematic. So just everyone understands what that table is saying is that the average, this is 26 to 34, the average lot on Lions Bay, or the lots that you calculate in your subdivision on, are based on between 3,200 and 5,400 square foot lots. No, that's just never practical in Lions Bay. You cannot have a 3,000 square foot lot in Lions Bay and put a single family residence on it. We live on a slope, that doesn't work. I understand that these are technical documents, but I really think someone should go through it, and I said this before, and adjust it to what's relevant to Lions Bay.
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell, you have your hand up.
So the Director of Operations, Mr. Burr, worked with an engineer who does this as a specialty for several weeks to develop this and customize it specifically to Lions Bay. So I don't think, in terms of reasonableness, staff can be expected to do any more customization than it already did. I had no involvement in this, so I can't tell you it's perfect. But it's as good as our current capabilities at delivering this. Carl directed all of this, so if Carl's wrong, then I have some other concerns about other work that's going on.
So why do we have such small lot sizes, the category?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'd have to ask Carl. There can be different reasons for that. It can be sort of a generalization, it can be an extrapolation. I can't tell you the specifics of why they ended up with that. But again,
It could be problematic, I think.
it could be, and council can always amend these bylaws if there are actual deficiencies. Right now, there are several subdivisions applications I've had on my desk. I signed off on another one today, and I don't really have a bylaw I can use. And it's not as though there are many subdivisions that are going to happen in Lions Bay, but this provides us with some technical teeth to deal with subdivisions versus one page.
Councillor Abbott, for the second time, and then we'll go to other councillors to speak before calling the question. Councillor Abbott.
Well, my question was going to be followed up to what I just heard the CAO say. I can do that afterwards if other councillors want to speak now on this bylaw.
Okay, any other councillors wish to speak, address the bylaw? Yeah, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Berry. I realize that this is seems to me a pretty well thought out technical document. And I mean, I get the theme of it. Just as a personal piece, and I'm glad that the CAO wrote in about the approving officer role on council is limited, which means no involvement. And it bothered me quite a lot. I understand he's put this in as part of the provision of the Land Titles Act, but it doesn't make me feel good that there is no second chance. If I'm a neighbor on one side of a proposed subdivision and I genuinely hate it, or across the street or around the corner or within 50 or 100 meters, or there's a couple of them side by side, I understand the legislation, but it bothers me that our residents have no recourse. And that's my point.
Okay. Any further comments from other councillors before we go back to Councillor Abbott? Okay, Councillor Abbott.
I just wanted to touch on the statement that you have several subdivisions you're dealing with, and you signed off on one today. So I still don't understand how we dealt with the CAC's DDPs, whatever they are, that we have written in our current bylaws.
Good question.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell.
Through you to Councillor Abbott. Although those are written in, we have no bylaws and we have no legal authority. We have no CAC bylaw. So it's just like, for example, the provision of cottages in the RS1 zone, it speaks about cottages. But although it speaks of cottages in the R1 zone, it doesn't list it as a permitted use. So that's an issue because it says cottages, but doesn't permit cottages. So the same thing applies here.
So you're saying you're
Councillor
approving subdivisions?
Yes.
Even though, but our OCP says we don't have subdivisions.
So,
Mr. Blackwell.
thank you. So what governs subdivision? There's a couple of things. The zoning governs the subdivision. So if the zoning sets a minimum lot size. So let's say a zoning bylaw says single family residential, for lots zoned single family residential. I'm making this up. This is not Lions Bay, to be clear, but for ease. let's say that the bylaw says minimum lot size for single-family residential lots is 1,000 acres. Sorry, 1,000 square feet.
It's actually 8,000 square meters. That is the number, 8,000 square
Yeah, I'm
meters.
just trying to keep it simple, 1,000. And so if my lot happens to be 4,000 square feet, I can subdivide it in theory into 4 lots of 1,000 each. That's as a matter of right. It's my legal authorities or legal entitlement is to do so. Municipalities cannot stop that unless through the subdivision application procedures and the subdivision servicing bylaw that sets out all kinds of conditions. Unless I can't meet the conditions or reasonably meet the conditions, then I'm limited by 2 things: the minimum lot size set out in the zoning bylaw and the servicing requirements. It could be that the servicing requirements are such that even though I have a 4,000 square foot lot, but I am zoned in such a way as to be able to grade 4, because of the servicing requirements, I can't subdivide. The opposite could also be true as well. It's not cut and dry, it's not black and white.
All right. Any other questions, Councillor Abbott?
Sorry, yeah, just with respect, I think bylaws need to be black and white. And our bylaw says 8,000 square meters. So you're authorizing subdivisions of over 8,000 square meters lot size.
Mr.
Because that's bigger
Blackwell.
than any lot in Lionsburg.
Through the chair, so the one lot I signed up, the one subdivision I signed off today was a boundary realignment. There's no fundamental change. Another subdivision that I have on my desk that I've had to issue a PLR for. One of the conditions is that they have to comply with the provisions of the zoning bylaw as well as all of the services stuff. So my job is not to tell them these things. My job is to say, here's what you need to do. If you can do it, you're golden. If you can't, not my fish to fry.
Okay, with that, I'll call a question. All in favor? Oh, Councillor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, Mayor. I just one question. There's a revenue component to this, as Councillor Abbott said, the DPCs. You're approving, but there's property enhancement that's going on in this. I would think that you'll be coming forward sometime on something like this.
Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you, through you to Councillor McLaughlin. So you do not have a DCC bylaw. DCC bylaw is probably not a bad idea. The chance of you using it to any significant advantage is very unlikely. The DCCs that will be established aren't going to be very much. So you'll have a DCC for every, it depends on the scenario. If it's multifamily, every door that is added to density per door, you have a DCC cost. You're not going to get a lot of development here. So even if you did have a DCC bylaw, which doesn't do any harm, it's better to have it than not. There's not enough development in Lions Bay to generate much revenue in terms of DCC.
Fair enough. So following that line of thinking, and I think what you're saying here, these subdivisions tend to be rather smallish in the scheme of thing, versus I'm thinking something bigger. A property is subdivided, it goes vertical. Well, since council can't mention anything on your decision here, what they can mention is that if we're going to do this, then there should be some DCC bylaw, which says, if you're going to do something, whether the residents like it or not, we're not going to give it away. If property enhancement, we're not going to give it away.
Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you, through you to Councillor McLaughlin. That is the one vulnerability, but also opportunity. So rezoning, as everybody is aware, if I have a single family residential zone and I want to put a 12-story building on there as a seniors facility, whatever it is, my options for doing that are pretty limited. So chances are, if I wanted to do something like that, I would have, in the right location, if there is such a thing, I would have to come to council and ask for rezoning. Now, through the rezoning process, this is where the greatest latitude of any of the approval processes or permitting processes lies for council. And the reason I say that is there are no legal provisions with regard that specify any limits to what you can ask for.
Good, you've answered my question, so in a backdoor way, in fact, council does have authority.
Huge authority. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But it's probably wise
Okay.
at some point to have
To-
a fairly rudimentary
Yeah.
DCC.
PCCs. I'm sure
Okay,
you have
folks,
lots on your plate. Thank you.
we'll call the question. All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, with that, we'll move to the action items log. It's on page 193. And any items that councilors would like to pull out?
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Sorry, I apologize for not having a mouse. I'm somewhat handicapped. Yeah, yes. For goodness sake, 193.
All right, this is for information, so is there any items councilors would like to pull out?
page 193, Councilor.
Yeah, I know, just give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. No one else has anything, I guess.
Okay, I'll read through.
Okay.
Nothing? All right, we'll move on.
So no, I do have something. It's not here. I thought we had something in the last meeting where we did ask the CEO to come back to us on this whole idea of DCCs, CACs, and so we could understand what our subdivision philosophy concept is, because I don't think any of us understand, and certainly don't residents, what we can or cannot do. I thought that was on there because we discussed it in the previous meeting. I don't see it. So maybe I'm asking for some latitude to add that without us trotting back through the minutes right now.
Great idea to add.
Can we add that to the unfinished business log
So what,
urgently for the next meeting?
DCCs, CACs,
And what is allowed in our current subdivisions?
what do you mean what is allowed?
Well, my
Minimum
understanding
lot sizes, you mean?
as well, yeah, if that's what it takes, yeah. I understand since 8,000 square meter numbers still out there.
Okay, let's add that to 363. It's a blank column or a row there. Let's add that to 363. Any other items?
Yeah, but what page is that on?
193.
193.
393. Sorry, 193, you're right.
193.
193, yeah.
There it is, I got it.
If I may.
Yeah, Councilor McLaughlin.
I'm just looking at 341. And my aim here is to clear the action item list. We've already budgeted this item, I believe.
341.
341, articling
The
states.
341.
zoning bylaw.
I've already budgeted
Zoning
this item,
bylaw update.
so
We can mark
we're
it.
gonna pass the budget momentarily, so
We can mark it as complete.
it's in staff's hands now.
All right.
Well, I'm suggesting we want it to come back sooner rather than later. We need to understand what it is now. As
341?
no, I think
I was
Ross is
gonna
connecting
strike
341 with the discussion we just had. I don't think the discussion we just had needs to wait for the bylaw to be approved. Correct. Okay.
All right. Any other items? No. Okay. We'll move to the verbal report update. 10, we added it to the agenda on table.
Yes, and I can hand this over to the CEO fairly quickly. From my understanding, staff earlier, they had a discussion with West Vancouver as they were asked to. And there is nothing that needs to change in our letter, but I'll hand it over to the CAO. So I think we can resolve that tonight, hopefully, and not have to add it to Thursday's meeting.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you. So pursuant to council's direction, I reached out to West Van and in particular, an individual called Heather Keith, who has had several conversations with
Ruth Simons.
Ruth Simons, thank you, on this issue as well as the bigger issue. As I understand it, based on that conversation I had, everything that council is aware of and has expressed concern or question about is entirely analogous with what West Van has identified. The only difference, there's two differences. One difference is that West Van, at this point, council has decided not to issue a letter. The other piece was, it was specific to the conversation between myself and this individual, where we were wondering about whether this could open the door for other unanticipated constraints on use, recreational use in the future. Does it open the door to this? The answer is nobody knows. And I don't think there's any way to find out. And I don't, my sense is, as I understand it, this individual from West Van as well, there's no immediate reason to think that DFO is thinking along those lines, but it doesn't necessarily, there's no guarantee that they won't, and so on and so forth. And even if they do, then what does that mean? What sort of engagement would be involved? But all of that is speculation. To the nub of the point, the letter that council has seen reflects West Van's position, although they're not issuing the letter. So it would seem that I would suggest that council will be well served, have its interests well served, based on the content of the letter as it exists.
Okay, any comments from the councillors? Councillor Abbott put his hand up.
Yeah, just one other point to remind everyone, unlike West Van, we also have one technical structural issue with a boundary that goes to nowhere. So even if we did decide not, we do need to write a letter anyway. I'm happy we've given enough thoughts and you've done what you needed to do. So I think we should just go ahead and have that letter signed and issued.
Okay, any other comments? No, Councillor Abbott. Oh, Mr. Blackwell.
It'd be nice to make a resolution here, a motion, sorry. Yeah, I can make resolutions be easier. Put forward a motion that the letter back to the DFO regarding the glass sponge and rock cod refuge amendments be signed by staff and forwarded to the DFO.
Right.
Sorry, signed by council, signed by council.
The acting mayor.
Oh, you're not in town. Okay, signed by the acting mayor and forwarded.
Okay, second.
Second.
Seconded by Councillor Broughton. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, thank you for that. All right, we'll move to the 2026 budget. Can we take just a 3-minute recess and then we'll come right back?
Five.
5-minute recess and then we'll
Okay,
come back.
thank you.
Okay.
In that case, I'll go to the washroom.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, welcome back to the November 18th regular council meeting, and we'll call the meeting to order. We'll move to item 10.1.1, and that is the 2026 budget. And Mr. Cherkoff, we'll ask you to join the table.
So, through the chair, I direct your attention to page 218 of 275, that's the staff report. Just following up on our meeting last Thursday, it's made a whole kind of closing meeting on the budget process. This was presented in draft form. And I would just like to say again, that it's quite an accomplishment for council and committee as a whole to get to this process by this date. We're 6 months ahead of where we were in the last 3 years. Literally down to the last day where we could legally file a regulatory obligation. So we're way ahead of the game, and it's a commitment to the process and effective use of time and efficiency on behalf of members of committee of the whole and council. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, I don't really have anything to speak to, all the material you've seen before. If there's anything, so what I'm requesting here in the staff report is first and second reading of the 2026-2030 5-year financial plan bylaw. Third reading would come on December 2nd. So there is time, in case something pops up that you need to revisit, no problem, but I'm not aware of any of those items at this moment.
Okay, councilors, any questions before we call a motion?
So moved, and thanks to Mr. Cherkoff and the balance of staff for an outstanding job, well presented over numerous.
Councilor McLaughlin, I'll just ask for a second and then we can have some comments. Do we have a seconder? Councilor Cunliffe seconded. Thank you, Councilor McLaughlin, Councilor Cunliffe. Okay, back to you, Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much. Mr. Cherkoff and his team have done an outstanding job of this, which, to be candid, is why we're here at such an early date. And I think within the numbers, the village should be very happy with other tax dollars being spent and the incredible value that's been received. Thank you very much, Mr. Cherkoff.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Councilor Broughton?
Right. So we're looking at first and second reading this evening, and we are having a council strategic planning meeting Thursday evening. So I just want to honor both all the work that's been done and really appreciate the timelines on this, and also just acknowledge that I'd like to, when we're looking at strategic planning, there may be some things that come up that may cause us to want to relook at one or two things within the budget, but really appreciate the work that's got us to here. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, Councilor Abbott, comment please, before we call the question.
Yeah, I'll just touching on Michael's suggestion about the strategic planning session. Council's intention is still to hold their meeting closed. I think if we're discussing budget items, we should not be doing them in closed. So I think, well, first of all, I think the meeting should be open, as I said before. But if we are having in the closed meeting, we shouldn't be discussing.
With all due respect, are we re-legislating that? Because I've
No, I'm not
called on the carpet for bringing up items repeatedly. So.
I'm talking.
Okay, I'm going to ask all councilors to stick to the budget motion on the table.
Yeah, I was talking to the suggestion that we discuss the budget, and I'm not in favor of that.
You were talking about corpse.
The strategic planning session is closed. You said we should review the budget there.
Okay, folks, the motion on the table is first and second reading. Any comments to that? No? Okay, I'll call a question. All in favor of first and second reading?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to 10.1.2 accounts payable third quarter. That's for information. Is there any questions? Any questions for Mr. Cherkoff? No? Okay, we'll take that as received. Item 10.1.3, tree application number 135 for 405 Bayview Road. And
so moved.
we have a motion for that. Second?
Done.
Sorry, Councilor McLaughlin seconded.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, any comments, questions on this?
Yeah.
No? Okay, Councilor Abbott.
We've had several. I was going to say numerous, but I don't know. I can't remember how many, but there's probably been numerous, not several. Requests for tree permits to be granted in perpetuity, and tonight we have it again. And on two councils, we have consistently said no to that. I think there's good reason to say no to that. I see no reason to change. I think we were at 2 years and a 2-year refresher last time. Can't remember the exact numbers. At one point there was a request for every 5 years, but I do not think it should be in perpetuity. Things change, and we should not be doing that.
If I could provide some clarification.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you. So although that was in the recommendation from the committee, in the staff report, it's listing 5 and 5, just as you say.
Oh, Okay,
And
I'll
actually,
remove my objection then.
and actually you first.
Yeah, just have a question. Does the permit, is it applied to the owner or to the address? So if somebody did have a 5 and 5 to renew, does that get grandfathered with the new owner or? So, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell?
Thank you. Just want to comment on the quality of that question. Permits like of this nature run with the land, not the individual.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just comment for information. I was at that tree committee meeting. These trees have all been topped before. Most of them, if not all of them, were underneath power lines. So it was a pretty straightforward. These are trees that have been topped that you see some of the branches and the limbs growing up 3 or 4 feet. So I think that was the intent of the tree committee, was just this is a maintenance situation underneath the wires. Okay.
Question?
All right. All in favor?
Right.
Yes,
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Thank you for that. We'll move to 10.1.4 development variance permit 2025-03. The recommendation that council approve the issuance of development variance permit number DVP 25-03 to vary section 7.8.1 of the zoning development bylaw number 520, 2017 to permit a maximum building height of 8.4 meters for a flat roof and 9.9 meters for a slope roof for the property located at 210 Lions Bay Avenue, as generally in accordance with the plans attached to this report. Okay, do we have a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Councilor Broughton, second.
Second.
Okay, second by Councilor McLaughlin. Discussion, Mr. Blackwell has his hand up.
Thank you. Just to introduce this, I've sent out all the provisions in the report and happy to field any questions. Just as a reminder, the applicant is in the room as well. Should you have any applicant specific questions, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Micklejohn would be happy to speak to those.
Okay, Mr. Micklejohn, why don't you go up to the podium and then councilors could direct any questions. Councilor McLaughlin, you had your hand up.
Thank you. I have no questions. As I understand the piece of the package is being presented, I understand why the situation occurred, which in a nutshell is preparation and flood awareness. My question is for the CAO, and buried within the, not buried, within the documentation, there's a comment, and I paraphrase, all public notification requirements have been met. So my questions are, what does this mean and what were the results? And I would caveat that with, you recall it a prior event that came to council that had similar language, but affected residents were not aware of the matters at hand.
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, and over to you.
Thank you. So the planning procedures bylaw sets out the provisions associated with notification. That bylaw is also informed by the local government act part 14, which sort of sets the threshold. You can't go less. And what that includes in Lions Bay is there's a 50-meter provision and a 100-meter provision for affected residents, and they get direct mail outs, which was facilitated by Mr. Bindra, our bylaw enforcement officer, who hand delivered notices to each of the properties within those areas. I can tell you that where there's a question mark, staff always errs on the side of more notification than less. I'm not saying we kind of go out a quarter of a mile, but if we go another property or two, we'll be more inclined to do so. So those provisions were met.
And if I may continue, were there any responses and were they positive, negative? And if so, how many?
Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you. Through you, there were no formal written responses. However, I did meet with the adjacent property owner who had walked through the application considerations at a high level. That individual expressed some concern I believe Mr. John has taken the time to meet with that individual and walk them through. And if you wish to know more about what was discussed in terms of that engagement, again, Mr. John's ready to speak to that.
But
Okay.
this individual has presented nothing in writing, nothing by phone, other than on my meeting.
Just, well, a telephone call and an in-person meeting.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Mr. John, any further comments before we call a
Yes.
question?
With respect to the owner's feedback, I did, the owners and I met with the neighbors to north, Ed Langford. He had, two concerns, and one we talked about, which brought up an interesting thing about our bylaw. I said, well, that, you know, the sloping roof you've got in the front, could you maybe tip it down a little more? Interestingly, the last day building bylaw talks about flat roof, talks about slope roof, doesn't actually define a slope roof, although Dave Butler has taken a roofing association definition of 3 and 12 constitutes a slope roof. So the short answer to Ed Langford on that was, well, we can't tip it down a little more because then it isn't a slope roof anymore. Next round, Zero Black Lives suggest next round of tidying up vagueness in the building bylaw, it'd be good to have a definition of slope. Because I'm not the first one to get caught on that, and well, that doesn't meet the requirement. Well, where's the requirement? Well, it's not written, but it's yeah, it should be in it. Their other concern was the privacy of the windows on the northwest corner, which would be from the kitchen and the master bedroom above. And the owners have actually agreed to reduce that window size a little bit, which the Langfords are happy with. So, long and short, it's bigger than what's there now because it's going to be, but they seem to be happy with the fact that we've set the building back further than minimum from the water and further than minimum from the north property line. So I'm happy to answer any of those
Okay.
questions.
Any further questions, Councillor Abbott?
Yeah, a couple of maybe more general questions. I think if you've just dealt with the neighbours and you've had a discussion with Ed Langford, and that would be Ed Langford Senior, I assume.
Yes.
That, you know, and they're all happy with what you've come up with. I think that's okay. I have one question. Did you consider taking this to the Board of Variance, or was that not a?
Well, we actually initially applied to the Board of Variance, but the direction we got back from the village was actually this should go through the development variance permit. I'll let CEO Blackwell speak to that. I think because it's a little more complicated because it involves flood hazard assessment and or
Mr. Blackwell, did you want to
The flood hazard
respond?
was the draft.
There, so through the chair.
Yes.
So there's a number of provisions, certainly that is a consideration, and boards of variance cannot vary those things. They don't have the legal authority. But the other thing is that I wrote this report, council may remember, a couple of page report on the difference in authorities associated with boards of variance versus the development variance permit process. So just as a reminder on that, typically, so how it's typically structured is boards of variance consider matters of hardship where physical characteristics of a property preclude what a bylaw says you can do. So board of variances that's their sort of wheelhouse generally. If somebody doesn't want to avail themselves of the board of variance, they don't have to. They could, regardless of that, they could still opt for a DVP. DVPs are primarily for those issues that are not within the legal purview of boards of variance, but otherwise issues that are based on whim or desire. They don't have to have a roof that tall, for instance. They could put a one-story house in there as an example. So it's not a physical hardship of the property, it's a desire to have a roof looking like this versus looking like that. And so those ones typically go to the development variance permit, where there's a greater emphasis on a planning analysis than what would be typical for a board.
Okay. Thank you for that. All in favor? Oh, Councillor Boughton has his hand up, and then we'll call a question.
Okay, fine. Just in terms of notification, I know that 190 did receive notification, and that's probably greater than the 50-meter mark. So it appears that the neighborhood was well aware of the proposal, and the sign, of course, was up, and it's been up for a period of time, so.
Okay, all in favor of the motion on the table?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. We'll move to 10.1.5, proposed 2026 council meeting calendar. And Crystal, we'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, through the chair. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to look at the calendar. It's essentially unchanged from the format of this year, other than the late in the game change to get rid of the committee of the whole meetings and replace them with regular council meetings. So that is the format that I proposed for next year, should council decide to continue that. And I've added, just as strictly as placeholders, the budgeting committee of the wholes in there, just so we could visually see them. And then a few other items.
Sorry if I could, just,
Yeah, Mr. Blackwell.
did you include council orientation workshops?
I did,
Good.
I added that, yes, December 2026, the first week.
Okay, Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much to the Deputy Corporate Officer. I have some problems with the months of September and October. That will be the general election period. I understand why there would be a council meeting on the first Tuesday, which is directly after Labor Day. And I would think the purpose of that would be to catch up for the August holiday, and council not having met since July the 21st. But I think after that, we are in the election period with nominations, et cetera, et cetera. And my observation over 4 election periods, that this is a dormant period, and things are not planned for council members in any format until after the general election, which will be the 17th of October.
If I could?
Okay, Mr. Blackwell.
All true. However, my suggestion is you keep that in there as a placeholder for any emergent issues that council may need to opine on. I would not imagine, in terms of Councillor McLaughlin's concerns, that there'll be heavy agendas right on the back of or on the front, I should say, of an election. But I would suggest it's better to have a placeholder in case there are any emergent issues that council needs to make a decision on. But of course, this is solely council's decision.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah, just
Councillor Abbott.
the new council orientation, is it truly 6 days long?
It's a boot camp, you don't get to go home.
It wasn't that long before.
I don't think I can eat pizza that long.
If I may, I see now it inadvertently highlighted Saturday. That was just a mistake. Saturday the 5th. Good cross.
Mr.
So how many days? is it?
Mr. Blackwell.
Thank you. So I don't know the date yet. I've reached out to Tracy Lawrenson because I think she'd be a good, she does this a lot for municipalities across Western Canada. She would be excellent at delivering this. It's typically a 4-hour session per piece. And then on another day, there's typically a 2-hour session that sets out all of the legal stuff that council needs to know, the charter, the Local Government Act, all the legal stuff that you guys know. That's on a different day. So it's a 2-hour and a 4-hour, somewhere in that period of time.
Okay, Councillor Abbott.
Sorry, I assumed that this is the one that the LMLGA puts on.
No,
Why wouldn't we just attend that one? But this is a Lions Bay 4-hour session. Okay. Okay.
if I could,
Okay, Mr. Blackwell, and then we're going to put the motion on the table and call a question. Mr. Blackwell.
thank you. This is just a calendar placeholder. The new council will decide whether or not they wanna do it or not, they could, placeholder could be there, but the new council could say, no, thanks, we, wanna do it in January or do something different or whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
motion
Just
to
one-
adopt the 2026 council
Sorry,
calendar. And do we have a motion for that? Councillor Abbott moved it, Councillor Cunliffe seconded. Any comments?
Just one last comment, and it's not major, but in the write-up, it mentions that traditionally we've always had one council meeting a month. Traditionally, we've always had two, first and third Tuesday. It's not important, but
Okay, all in favor?
yes.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll move right down to correspondence and any items in correspondence council would like to pull out?
Yeah, I'll just quickly, so, on page 268, Chair Hurley sent us, revised forecasts, for, growth. The numbers have come down slightly. They are, still, absurdly high for Lions Bay and not numbers we could possibly even achieve. On the low end, 150 to 200 additional people per year, which is 60 homes, and on the high end, 250 to 300. Once again, which is, these numbers are just, I mean, I think they were described by someone as ludicrous previously, or some term like that. Not a technical term, but it stresses an opinion. I honestly don't really know. I mean, we didn't discuss this at council when we got the housing needs authority, as you will recall. It was sent off to the province without us passing a resolution on it. I personally feel we should comment on these numbers when we get them, because they send a message, and that's what I'd like to see us do in future, and not let them just slide by. And then we've got another letter from MLA on motion 216, and we've dealt with that in a previous meeting, and letter's been sent approving agreeing with the UBCM recommendation. That's the only two things of sort of note, or I just want to make
Okay,
sure
any
everyone has read and
questions
understood.
or comments on the correspondence? No, we'll move to item 14, new business. Any new business? Okay, item 15 is public questions, comments. Crystal, is there anyone in the gallery that would like to speak before we go to the online residents?
I have one
Yep.
personal thing, our owner was sent me a note just after 6. Are we on now? When does the public portion start? It'd be helpful if the agenda said when the public portion of the meeting starts.
That is something we can never tell you, because this could be at 9:58 PM or 10:28 PM.
Okay.
So it's just at the end. We get, if you want to participate, for sure, get here for the beginning of the meeting, because there's 2 opportunities.
All right,
Sorry.
thank you for that, Councillor Cunliffe. Okay,
Uh,
anyone online, Crystal?
No,
No, okay, with that, a motion to adjourn the meeting? Second, okay, moved by Councillor McLaughlin, second by Councillor Cunliffe, all in favor? Opposed?
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you very much, council and residents.